Hi again, everybody, and welcome to UnAnchored Boston with Bob Lobel. I'm Mike Lynch. And as always, we are brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping. And where? We're in New Hampshire, of
Yeah.
course, and by the great George Gray, the big wheel we call him, at George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. All right, among other jobs, he used to be the general manager of the Patriots. He's got 9,000 hats he's worn over his career. And Bob Lobel is going to handle a formal introduction of today's guest. Robert, take it away.
Well, first of all, Upton, I like your hair. It's a nice. It's a nice.
I did it for you guys.
Yeah,
I,
thanks.
I got I got a new one for you guys. I mean, all these other stiffs, they're on TV saying they go down and see those quack doctors in Provincetown and get this and that. All you need to do is go to Hair Club. That's it.
Okay,
Forget all the other stuff.
I will get them to be a sponsor for our show, and maybe we.
We need them.
Right. Well, former Patriot general manager, as Mike pointed out, son of one of the founders of the NFL and first commissioner Bert Bell, owner and former owner with Arnold Palmer of the Charlotte Hornets in that rogue league, and among many other things, the co-host of one of the most popular talk shows in the history of Boston sports called Calling All Sports. I just thought I ought to mention that, given your broadcasting background and all that stuff. But don't get carried away. You had a co-host. It wasn't you alone.
Oh, I know that. But what about what about all the TV shows we all did together?
All the TV shows.
How about Channel 38, the best TV talk show ever?
You know what? I was thinking, it was mirrored after the Chicago guys who would sit down, Chicago sports writers, and it was Bob Ryan, it was you, it was who else?
Joe Fitzgerald and Ryan used to get in fist fights. Don't you remember? I mean, or
Right.
almost fist
Mike,
fight.
Mike, where'd you go, Mike?
I'm
It's
getting
not
ready.
Oh, just want to say it wasn't one of the better shots. What's the book? Oh, there it is. Present at the Creation.
Here I am.
There you are.
I'm the only one living. 1946, first training camp, Chicago Bears. Everybody else is dead.
Yeah, then the Bears come full circle and doing Hard Knocks this year.
And I saw it, and it reminds me, 1946. Just a quick story for you guys. Does this show go 2 or 3 hours?
Quick stories.
Here's a story. I'm sitting on a tackling dummy with my brother watching a scrimmage. In those days, you scrimmage every day of the week, unlike what happens today when they don't scrimmage at all. And so many of the players were returning in 1946 from World War II, and they were really men then, even in their early 20s. Unlike today, they're all kids coming out of college. So I see this vicious hit, and this guy's on the ground, and it kind of upset me, although I should know better being around football camps. So he could see after practice was over, walking out, that I was somewhat upset with the hit on him because he's lying on the ground. And he said to me, he put his arm around me, he said, "Don't worry about it, kid. This beats killing Germans." I said, "Oh my God." I mean, welcome to the real world. These people really saw. They fought in World War II. They came back to training camp, and to them, these scrimmages every day were nothing. Now you can't even touch anybody.
Well, speaking of touching anybody, starting tomorrow, the National Football League preseason, just forget the Hall of Fame game, which never did, can still try to be completed in Canton, Ohio.
Right.
So all of a sudden, we start with the Patriots in Carolina, two of the powerhouses in the NFL. I don't know how they're going to do this year, but last year they were a total of 6-28. You put those two things together, the Panthers and the Patriots were 6 wins and 28 losses.
You know what this is? This is the outhouse game. This is not the powerhouse game. And, to see a team go from what they were in really 4 short years, and yes, Belichick gets a majority of the blame, but to see what it's gone to now is really amazing. You guys have been around forever. You both played football. You both understand what it is about. But I will tell you now, you have Jonathan Kraft, who I think is the real power and is getting more and more power each day. You got Bob Kraft, who wants to pose for every picture he can get. You've got a general manager, supposedly, and you've got a new head coach. And on the first week that they practice, you've got a player defying everybody. And of course, under Belichick or most coaches that I've been around, his ass would have been out. That would have been it. See you later. Thank you. That's it. But when you're a desperate team, you've got to coddle them. So you've got really a strange situation. Maybe it'll all turn out well. But right now, I look at it, and now you have Mayo that has to answer to Bob Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, and the woman who is the lawyer, and now Mayo has to answer to her. You tell me.
Well, do any of you guys recall this ever happening to Belichick? A guy that's under contract, wanted to renegotiate, would come out and be a distraction, and the coach had to come over and talk to him, tell him to get off the field, go in the locker room. I just don't remember it happening with Belichick.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't happen because he would be on waivers that afternoon. And we can find fault all you want about Belichick's last 4 years. But this franchise has never had success like they had during his regime, his early regime. And the big thing to learn out of it, even though he pissed off the press, I say, who cares in some ways? Because it's what he put out there on the field. And a lot of people forget now, as great as Brady was, and Belichick and Kraft together blew the whole thing. This was a great football team. And I've seen great football teams going all the way back to the Colts and the Cleveland Browns. During that period of like from 2001 all the way through right till their last Super Bowl victory in 2019, this team had the best players in the league, period. And you think about that and you see it now and you say, what the hell happened here? How did it fall apart so quickly in the last 3 or 4 years? But you know what? You could see it coming.
Well, nothing lasts forever, and that's why dynasties, they're not forever. They have a length of time, whether it's UCLA, whether it's the Celtics, whether it's the Yankees, whether it's the Patriots. Dynasties end. They all, by their very nature, they end. Now let's.
What?
Back to Gerard. Go ahead.
Bob, they can end, and that's okay. But then from them ending, you want to have at least a decent team. And looking at the last 3 or 4 years, and maybe this year, with the worst offensive line I've seen ever, at least right now, you want to be respectable. When the dynasty ended for the Packers, when the dynasty ended for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and their latest one, at least afterwards, they were representative. This team is not representative.
Well, are you saying there's plenty of blame to go around, but let's go to present tense. Are you saying that Mayo is unable to handle this situation, unable to come in and be a successful National Football League coach?
I don't know that, but I know this. And his first test, if one thing I learned, Weeb Eubank, Don Shula, Bill Belichick, Paul Brown, you name them.
Parcells,
who belongs, as we know, in the Hall of Fame here. Great, great coach. They let the player know right from the very beginning, even if you want to be a nice guy, don't ever do that again, or the minute you do that, you're out of here. That was the first test. And don't think, again, you guys have played. I know what locker rooms are like. And they might come back in the locker room and they might say, you know, we love Judon and we love the way Mayo is treating us and everything else like that. But players have long memories, and all they know is this: we saw what he did. Now we might try it ourselves. You can't ever let that locker room ever rule you. And that's what I saw then. Maybe it'll all straighten out, but I don't like it.
Well, I agree, Upton. I had a very bad feeling when I watched that. It reminded me of when Butch Hobson took over the Red Sox and went jogging around Chain of Lakes Park in Winter Haven with Clemens. And Clemens kept his earphones in and really didn't give him the time of day. It was, to me, it was the exact same situation, 40 years later in Foxborough.
What a piece of video that was, huh, Lynchy?
Unbelievable.
Well, our good friend Dan Shaughnessy, who you guys had on recently, was the first one to point that out, what you're just talking about now, Daddy Butch and what happened then. And again, if you think about it, players have long memories and they know you don't test people. If you like Mayo so much, and he's a likable guy, and I hope it works out for him. But if you like Mayo so much, you're also remembering what everybody saw. That's another thing. Now, Belichick, of course, you can hardly get into practice, as you know, with him. He would do everything. He would hide and suspect everyone. Do you think Belichick or any coach, Parcells or any, would let that guy do that, knowing the cameras are on them? Probably with Belichick, or with whether it's Belichick or especially Parcells. What Parcells would do is turn around and act for the cameras and say, "Get the hell out of here! Are you kidding me? Don't give me any of that bullshit." He would put on the act for the team, and so the media could see he isn't taking it. And that's what I didn't like, what I saw there. I felt badly for Mayo.
How can he possibly succeed here? I mean, really, how? Unless he's a miracle worker, unless he's, I don't know what he'd have to be to possibly succeed here.
Well, I don't know, because he's not been set up to succeed. First of all, everybody will remember that the Patriots didn't talk to anybody else, that it was a private deal between he and Kraft. And here again is Kraft getting in the middle of something, like he's timing some player at Syracuse. I mean, one thing I will tell you, being an owner and understanding how owners think, the one thing you never do is you never, when you fire a coach or you're getting rid of a coach, you have a search. Even if you know who you want, you bring people in, you talk to them, you get their ideas, and then you turn around and say, of all the people who came in here, Mayo's my man. But they didn't do that. There was no interviews except that phony interview at the airport, that when the guy, and it was already arranged, and that pissed me off too. They bring a guy in, he interviewed at the airport for an hour or two, and then they announce the search is over. Please, are we that stupid to see this? So all of the things that you would like to see somebody succeed with, interviewing other coaches, having a line of demarcation, putting the authority in one person. And in this case, now they've split it up with, so you got Elliot Wolf, you've got Bob Kraft, you've got Jonathan Kraft, you've got Mayo, and never the twain shall meet. So
it was all up. As we all know, this is it was all about control. They lost control with Belichick for over 20 seasons with Belichick. They didn't like it, and we used to joke, Kraft has to put up with him because he wins. A couple of 7 and 9 seasons back when they had 16-game schedule, and he'll be gone. And one owner said, "When are you going to get rid of that asshole coach?" And Kraft said, "As soon as we go 7 and 9 or 6 and 10 for 2 years in a row." And that's basically what happened. You get rid of them. They want someone they can control.
I agree.
And they control or Gerard Mayo. And I just go back to Butch Hobson again, well, we couldn't let him go because so many other teams are going to scoop him right up. And I just see the same thing. They get control here, and they get the guy they want. And, if they win, fine. If they don't win, they get the guy they want.
Also, another thing, they are among, I don't care what they say, they're among the cheapest teams in the NFL. And whether it's facilities or whatever it is, they keep saying, we were in the top 5, or they talk about Brandon Ayuk and we're dropping out of it and all. It's crap. They are not big spenders. And the reason that they're still not big spenders is Belichick showed them a way to recruit players to be successful enough to bring them in. Belichick, of course, as we know, paid himself, we think, $25 million. And every player that bitched or complained about his contract, he was gone either that year or the next year. So they love the idea that Belichick took all the incoming flack, was the guy that managed it perfectly, got rid of it, so they didn't have to do it. But bottom line, when Belichick now gone, they still remain one of the cheapest paying organizations in football, whether they deny it or not. Ayuk was never in this deal. He was never in it.
Upton, back when you were general manager, they were still a very cheap team.
They were, but they had an excuse.
And that was
they were a cheap team.
They didn't have any money.
No, there's no question. And here's an interesting thing. It cost me the 2 greatest players of their time. Dwayne Thomas, who died 2 days ago, and I've done 100 interviews on him because I had.
Let me ask you, weren't you in a similar situation that you say Gerard or not, Mayo and Juden were in, that you were sitting on the field with Dwayne Thomas trying to, what was that situation like?
Well, it was first and foremost, it was one of the great situations because Lynchy, you succeeded Don Gillis, and Don Gillis. What happened was that when Thomas came in, I've told everybody today that called me about this. He still remains in my mind, scouting him, seeing him during his college career, pro career, still second only to Jimmy Brown as far as the first year or 2 of his life. In football, he was amazing. So anyway, I made a deal for him where I sent Carl Garrett, who I knew had real problems, out of here in return for Dwayne Thomas. And I also sent the number 1 choice. He comes in. Mazer, the coach, didn't like it. He did. I said, you're getting one of the greatest running backs in football right now for a guy who's nothing but trouble. And he said to me, yeah, but he's my trouble. And I'm saying, Jesus, what did I get myself into? So he comes in, I see his contract, and they had him for nothing. 20, 21, and 22, 3 years tied in. So I said to him, I will look at your contract and I will give you a better contract. We negotiated out in the middle of the field, and as Don Gillis got close to it, Thomas got up and walked over to him and said, get that goddamn camera out of here. And Gillis, backed off, and so did everybody else. I thought, oh my God, this is hilarious. So we negotiated the contract. I said, okay, we'll sign it tonight. Go out, practice will be in very shortly. So he goes out to practice, and as it turned out, I suspected Mazer would try something. So what they did is that Mazer said to him, all right, now get down in the 3-point stance. Well, in Dallas, they didn't do that because your tailback, which he was, is the guy, and you guys would know that the tailback has to basically stand up behind the fullback, the blocking back, so he can see the field. So Thomas, in a very nice, non-confrontational way, says to him, well, Coach, I'm used to doing it this way because I see the field a lot better. And he started to kind of curse at him and said, well, we're doing it this goddamn way. Everybody could hear it. So I knew it was a setup. And finally, he said to him, get the hell off the field. And that was the end of his career here. When he came back, I said, listen, Dwayne, if I can't get the coach to accept you, I said, I'll try to send you back to Dallas, which I eventually did. I got Pete Rozelle involved in it and a lot of other things, and sent him back. Ironically, Mazur got back Garrett. You know where Garrett is today? Just as I predicted, in prison. So that whole thing, in fact, the week before, I'm standing in a crowd and I look across the field and somebody says, I think that's Carl Garrett's drug guy. So I said to Bucko Kilroy, Bucko, walk across the field in case this guy's going to try and shoot me. And I walked over to the guy and I said to him, get the hell out of here. I know who you are. No more of this crap. And the guy did leave without shooting me. But that was the case there. The other guy, which many people don't discuss, is I looked at it this way. Jim Plunkett, I knew right away. I'd scouted him in college. I knew right away he was going to be the quarterback, and I knew he was going to be good, unlike what we have going on here right now.
What does that mean, what we have going on here right now?
Well, nobody knows whether Drake May can do it or not. I think he's a great athlete, but that doesn't make him a great quarterback. It's a niff on him, and the game has totally changed. I understand it. The first day I saw Plunkett in college, and the first day I saw him here, and Joe Cap was not going to be involved. I said, this guy can play right away, and he did. He had a great first year.
So let me ask you this. Let's go backwards. I think they've had 4 first-round draft picks: Drake May, Mac Jones, Drew Bledsoe, and all the way back to your guy, Jim Plunkett, who we all loved, Heisman Trophy. Did you feel like you were going to play him whether he was ready or not because you wanted to wow the fans, sell more tickets, et cetera, or was he really ready to play?
First of all, I didn't give a damn what the fans thought, and that wasn't a knock at them. I was not going to make my decision based upon what the fans thought. When I saw him, even the first week in training camp, I said to Mazur, thank God Billy Sullivan can take Joe Cap and leave camp, because this is the guy. I knew right away, not only the way he threw the ball, but also the way he picked up an offense, because Stanford really ran a pro offense in those days. Remember, they had Randy Vataha, who I found later on at Disney World. But I knew right away, and you know right away, even though we're now 50 plus years removed, and Drake May is in camp, and he has good days, he has bad days. Plunkett never really had a bad day in camp. He was really mature. I think this kid might eventually make it. But the other thing was, our offensive line wasn't that bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't that bad. And we had pretty good receivers. And I thought with Dwayne Thomas, it would take a lot of pressure off of Plunkett, because he could dunk the ball, out. Because he caught the ball very, very well. So it would take the pressure off it. Now, when you look at what's happening here, my God, I would be scared to death to put May or anybody out there with that offensive line. I mean, they're really literally picking people up off the streets. So it's a completely different situation. But again, if Thomas had stayed here with Plunkett, and my second year, I brought in Fred Dreyer, and he would have really, that defense was good anyway. But in both cases, one, the coach didn't want him. In the second case, the cheap owners, Billy Sullivan, I agreed to a contract with Dreyer, and they wouldn't pay the money. So there are some similarities as far as payroll is concerned here to then. The more things change, the more they remain the same. Right, guys?
Yep.
That's for sure.
Always.
It looks like everybody says Milton's going to get bunch of snaps tomorrow night in the second half. But Drake May, maybe he'll get his 10 plays in, and you just move on. You hopefully he doesn't get hurt. But let's go back to Mac Jones when he first started in the first year that he had, compared to what you can look forward to Drake May. I mean, and what happened to Mac Jones in your opinion? Because it's been a while since we've had you on, and so many things, water's gone under the bridge here. Not to mention that Lynch and I spent a lot of time talking about the Dynasty, the thing on Netflix, and then the Tom Brady.
Wait till we get to that.
Well, I can't wait, actually. But no, I went, what? Mac Jones versus Drake May. Let's just go strictly down the line. Guy from Alabama versus a guy from NC State.
One thing I knew about Mac Jones was basically he was a systems quarterback. I didn't think he had a particularly strong arm. I thought he was pro-ready mentally, not emotionally, but mentally. The way Saban ran an offense, he had great receivers. He had everything going for him when he came here, coming from there to here. The problem was that over a period of time, he kept shrinking because he was under such terrible pressure all the time. I think someday he might make it somewhere else, maybe not as a top quarterback. But what happened to him here was really a disgrace in some ways, because Belichick, for whatever reason, never built around him. And the year that they brought back Weiss and Matt Patricia to be offensive coordinators, here's what I said. If it were me and I were the owner, I would have fired Belichick right then. I wouldn't have waited. I would have just said, you know what, Bill, if you're going to do that, I'm going to fire you, instead of this cowardly way he did it this past year. So I think he got destroyed emotionally, mentally, by what happened. He wasn't surrounded by particularly good players. He had terrible offensive coordinators. He was really literally, after the first year, thrown to the wolves. But in the end, Drake May has twice the amount of talent. Now, whether he has the other part of it, we don't know, and we might not know for quite a while, because at least in the beginning, when Jones came here, they had a decent offensive line and a decent offense. Not great, but decent. Now you've got a kid coming in who's got a lot of talent. We don't know about the mental part yet, but he also is faced with an offensive line that Harvard would be better. Harvard would have a better offensive line. I mean, that's the reality.
Hey, Jim Plunkett struggled here. I heard the Harvard. I got the whole Harvard thing. Don't worry. I'll be back. I'll be back later in the show with more on that.
You've been a great offensive line.
But Mac Jones.
What happened to their quarterback? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm just talking
to. Last year we had 3 guys in the Super Bowl, I believe.
I
just want to throw that in there.
Right.
So Jim Plunkett struggles here. He leaves. About a dozen years later, he went.
Did they camp out on the campus, or did they have to go right to the Super Bowl, or did they have to pass their finals first?
Well, all of the above. By the way, what you were saying about the situation is, it's just right now not very good.
No, but let me ask you this. So we saw Mac Jones. He's gone. Jim Plunkett was here. He was gone eventually. He wound up with the Raiders. He won 2 Super Bowls. Could Mac Jones actually resurface somewhere and have reasonable success?
Not like his talent. I believe that Jim Plunkett, he had 2 great years here, and then the whole team began to fall apart. And basically, when Fairbanks came in and they drafted Steve Grogan, Fairbanks wanted a college kind of offense. Grogan could run with the football, and by the way, one of the great unsung quarterbacks of all time was him. But I always thought if Plunkett could get out of here and get someplace else, he would be a great quarterback. I believe he's a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback. I would have him there with some of the people that have already got in that I think he's better than. So what happened to him here is that the offensive line began to break down, and he began to get hurt. And then Grogan comes in, and Fairbanks says, I want the running quarterback," and that was the end of him, which is also a lesson in be careful what you wish for. And but there is no way Mac Jones, guys, is in the same league with Jim Plunkett. No way. Arm strength, ability when he had to scramble, highly intelligent. No way.
All right, so let me ask you this. Now we've got Drake May. Regardless of Brissett, regardless of Milton, should and with this club has hit rock bottom. They really can't go much worse than they are. Do you put this kid in there and just ride him and let him make all his mistakes and eventually he's your guy, or do you just have him sit back at least ready to go?
No.
Okay, why?
I know Mike Know-It-All Felger keeps preaching that along with some of these idiots that do these talk shows. What I wouldn't do it.
Podcast.
Yeah. Not you guys. You know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. A lot of people said that.
Basically, I would not put him in there unless I thought that you had an offensive line that could at least hold for a few seconds. I mean, you're talking about your future. If you think it's your future, where you really learn about a quarterback is in all the practices, all the different drills. And right now they say some days he looks great, other days he doesn't. That tells you he's not ready. And especially he is not ready with that sieve of an offensive line. So I would not. They're talking about, well, put him in after the 5th or 6th game or 7th or 8th game. How the hell do they know? They don't know. The only way I, as a coach, would put him in is in certain maybe situations where you get rid of the ball quickly, where you dump screens or draws or stuff like that. But not as long as that offensive line is the way it is right now.
What a city. What a town. What an amazing, well, as the great Larry Moulter says, politics, sports, and revenge. The three things that drive this community. And I want to throw in campers. Okay, that just as we switched. Okay, Upton, I'm just going to do a little spot here, and I want to get back to politics, sports, and revenge, the things that drive Boston, and
They
talk
drive everybody.
a little bit about the Dynasty. But first, I have to talk about campers, the fourth thing that drives Boston: politics, sports, revenge, and camping. Summer sell-off events happening right now at Cold Springs RV. The first come, first served for the must-move deals on travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, and pop-ups. And I have a story for you. Cold Springs RV is making room for 2025 models. Now, 2025, not just 2025, but the year 2025. I can see how you can get confused on that. And must move the current inventories. They also have a great deal on regionals, the largest regional selection are pre-owned models. So there you go, a pre-owned model. Is there any model better than a pre-owned model? Not from my list.
Three of us.
Well, can I suggest?
No. In a minute, you can suggest anything you want. Get to the summer sell-off event in August at Cold Springs RV in Ware, New Hampshire. Where? It's west of Goffstown. It's north of Tingsboro. And tell them Lobel and Lynch and Uppy sent you. And check. I have one more story. It's an added benefit to camping, because I happen to know a guy who was solo, was camping in a place called Raymond, New Hampshire, which isn't very far. It's near Exeter.
I know where it is.
Oh, Raymond, New Hampshire. Carlton Fisk used to live in Raymond, New Hampshire. There was a campgrounds over there, and the solo guy happened to park his camper next to a solo woman who was camping as well. And there you go. You know, things happened.
So they become happy campers.
Two happy campers. They were very good. Two happy campers. I'm going to write that down, Upton. You may not get credit for it in the future, but I will Two Happy Camper story. Very good. That's down there. Check them out on our online at coalspringsrv.com. And you too can be a happy camper.
So I'm sure
Upton silence.
immediately
Hold on a second.
Justice Clarence Thomas is going to be on the phone wanting a deal for a camper.
Yeah.
You know? That's a big thing to him.
Okay, we got a big thing for you too coming up here.
All right, so Upton, here's the deal. I don't know if you remember this or not, but your gift for being on the show, when we finally build this Lobel Lynchy cruiser, it's going to be really exquisite. It's going to have air conditioning all over, so you don't have to worry about opening the window and having your new hair blow all over the place.
All right, be gone. Be out. Poof. It's
It'll be out the window.
Pull it up.
It'll be out.
So now
in Augusta, Maine, by the time you're able to reach out the window.
So our gift to you, Uppy, is that we're going to let you use the Lobel Lynchy cruiser and drive cross country. Pick it up it'll be delivered to you in Cambridge. You can drive all the way cross country, but you have to pick somebody to ride shotgun with you. Now, last time I believe you picked Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this time, pick somebody else. It can be a sports person, musician, historian, politician, alive, dead. Who would you pick to ride shotgun? You can have a conversation for 5 or 6 days as you're driving cross country.
Well, I'd probably pick Joanne because she's really interesting. But
that was a good choice.
and Joanne, do you hear me?
I heard you, Upton. Don't worry.
And in lieu of that, I'm thinking of probably, I don't know. It's really hard picking among all the stars that I know. But
well, it doesn't have to be a star. It could just be somebody interesting.
Well, yeah, but I know a lot of stars that are interesting.
True.
So,
okay.
So I would have originally picked, if she is still alive, Elizabeth Taylor.
Okay, so we can move on with the show.
Okay, move on with the show.
Elizabeth Taylor.
I would have picked her if she was alive. She's really interesting. Donna Reed, I knew. I would have picked her. Probably very, very interesting. There are a lot of people. You know what? Who I find really interesting? The mayor. How about Mayor Michelle Wu? I think she's really interesting.
Okay.
So who are you going to pick?
Well.
Okay. Only room for one.
It's all about Wu, Upton.
Woo. Mayor Wu.
Mayor Wu. Okay, that's a first. We've heard. By the way, I'm holding this book right here. You guys seen this? You guys have seen this picture right here, right?
Yankee Stadium. That was Yankee Stadium. That was the weekend, actually, that the Yankees and the Red Sox won the final game to come back here to play one more game for the playoff. Remember that game?
78.
1978. Yeah, guys. And Lobel got somebody from the Globe. What was his name? To take the picture there. And in fact, I remember Dan Ray coming down to do a piece on it. And Lobel says to him, "What the hell did you come down here for?" I'm paraphrasing. "What the hell did you come down here for? I could have done this for you." And
photo by Frank O'Brien.
Frank O'Brien took the picture, right?
The late Frank O'Brien.
Yeah, great photographer, great guy.
Well, that was in focus.
Yep. Why focus? Why not freelance?
Here's another one here. Down the bottom.
Oh, Bob Ryan.
Oh my God, the three kings. Lobel, Ryan, and Bell. My God.
I remember that.
Gathering of greatness.
Wow. What book is that, Lynchy?
It's
the creation.
It says Bob Lobel, Bob Ryan, and Upton Bell of the original Sports Beat, missing from photo, original member Joe Fitzgerald of the Boston Herald, courtesy Upton Bell.
Do you know what night that was from? The immortal Ron Della Chiesa night.
Oh, yeah. I remember us being there, right?
Yeah, we were there for that night. We didn't even know Ryan was
Mike. What book is it?
What's the name of the book? The name of the book is
President of the Creation.
Your book, for Christ's sake. No wonder I didn't get a copy.
And guess
I sent you the first copy.
I know it's Liz Walker's making a right.
in Harvard Stadium.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's where it was shot, at Harvard Stadium.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's good. What else are we talking about? Oh, sports, politics, revenge. The Dynasty. You said you wanted to talk about it. I know it's old news now because everybody's seen it. Everybody's got an opinion on it. It's all come and gone. I don't know if it's revisionist history or whether we want to go back, but your reaction to it was worth retracing, don't you think, Mike?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that if you're going to get rid of somebody, you do it to their face. You don't take a 10-part series and begin like in the middle to blame Belichick for everything. This was like Kraft saying, none of this was my fault. And little by little, he destroyed Belichick. I, along with a lot of other people, thought no matter what you think of Belichick, how he ended, or how he dealt with the press, even if you didn't like him, that was really shooting somebody in the back. And I can't think of anything worse. And then when they had that Tom Brady phony roast later on, and you could see Belichick when they wanted he and Kraft to share a drink together, you could see Belichick wanted no part of it. And that phony Kraft, pretending like he was his great friend. And yet the one thing that I hope people do remember about this whole situation is the responsibility. How many times I discuss either with my father or Pete Rozelle or any of the general managers that are in the Hall of Fame from the past about the responsibility of the owner in the end. And of course, we know the old saying, you're either an owner or you're a renter, is that Kraft had the responsibility when Belichick came over to the house about the question about paying Brady or not. Kraft had the responsibility to say to him, no, you figure it out. That's what I would have said to him. No, you figure it out. But we're going to pay the guy. We're going to keep him for 2 years, no matter what you think of him. And it will give us time to find another quarterback. That's the owner's responsibility. And he is now trying to, and has been for a long time, escaping the whole real blame for this thing. It was him. He had the money. He was the guy that paid, and he was the guy that would make the decision on the quarterback and the coach. That forever changed the franchise's history and forever changed the relationship. From that day on, dead.
That whole Dynasty series backfired on Kraft and the Patriots. It led people who were on the fence between, was it Brady, was it Kraft, was it Belichick? All the people who were on the fence landed on the Belichick side. And when he came out on the stage and got introduced, because I was sitting there in about the 10th row of Tom Brady night in June, 68,000 people there. That thing, you could not stop the crowd from cheering. Belichick tried to talk. He couldn't talk because they kept drowning him out. They were just going crazy over Belichick. Now, I know this for a fact. The event happened, I think, on a Wednesday night.
Right.
And the guys that were in charge of making all the videos for Kraft Sports Production were given about 10 days to, put a video together. Let's get it up online and this and that. Well, there was so much positive feedback for Belichick that Kraft was out of his mind. He wanted to control this thing, edit it, cut it down, and eliminate the adulation for Belichick. He told his crew, forget about a week from Friday. I want it done in 48 hours. 1 hour recap of that thing. I want it done in 48 hours. So people will forget. They won't see this every time they want to see the thing and just listen to that long ovation. So they will forget how much this crowd loved Bill Belichick, and they need to love me. That is what the message that came out of there, and that's what people got to understand and you have to know.
And look at as long as this thing has gone on. I mean, I go all the way back to Bob Kraft, all the way back to when he had that World Team Tennis with Martina Navratilova.
The lobsters.
And right, the lobsters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been about him. Now, I understand the owners today are a lot different than the owners of the past, and they had their problems. The owners of today are bottom line betties. They want their picture and their name everywhere. They want to be seen on television. They don't. A lot of them don't know the first damn thing about the game, and maybe that in this new era you don't need to. You just need to come up with billions of dollars. But he all along has always been the guy that wants to be in the picture. Lobel, you remember when we were doing that Sunday show when you were still on TV, and Kraft would show up at like a bar that we did it from, and he'd be in a Patriots sweatshirt. And I'm saying, Jesus Christ, this is the owner of the team. And he was a real fan and kind of fun. But that's who he is. And that's who he's always been. But the problem is now when he has to make real decisions, his son will probably make it. But he never, Lynch, you're right, he never wants to be out of the limelight. The problem is if you want to do that, then you sign your quarterback, you give him the 2 years at $28 or $30 million or whatever it was. You tell your coach, just bear with me for the next 2 years and we'll get through this thing and find a new quarterback. And then you don't have all the animosity and you don't have people sticking it in your face that he went to Tampa simply. And I think that's what really ruined the last part of Belichick's reputation. Brady went to Tampa and went, I'm going to win one without you, and he did it the first year. Now what do we have? We have gone, I won't say we, that's what many of the people on the talk shows say, we, instead of saying Patriots. The Patriots now are at the bottom, and it didn't need to be that. That's where they are.
Well, you see, that's why I wore this Red Sox hat today, because the Red Sox have moved ahead of the Patriots in the scale of things in Boston sports.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm buying into the act that they're putting up on the field, but and you know, you do have to kind of pay attention to what they've been doing. I mean, you can only be negative for so long on so many things. But I'm just saying, the Patriots moved up, and the Patriots. But you mentioned the owners. I want to say one more thing about the owners, because they have, as you pointed out very succinctly, they are the problem. They are the problem. And for fans who really did care about watching games, whether they bet those parlays, those trifectas, or whatever they bet, or how much they bet, or you know what, and how many years do we talk about it that you're going to have to pay for every game that you watch? Like these preseason games, you're going to have to pay at some point to watch preseason football, and it's going to be on Peacock or whatever it's going to be. You have to pay. They've already tested it. They've already done it.
They don't. Here's what's going to happen, and I predicted this 5 years ago. I said, as you get closer to the playoffs, and now everybody and their mother makes the playoffs. Almost half of the 32 teams now make the playoffs.
Well, we're not talking about baseball. We're talking about football.
Yeah, right. No, that's what I'm talking about.
I know you. I'm just kidding.
And what has happened is, I said, the day will come when Lobel, you and Lynchy will be paying $25 to $50 to be able to see the Super Bowl on whether it's Paramount or one of the MGM or one of these other ones. They slowly but surely, including the opening week, where the Eagles are going to play in Brazil and then afterwards eat coconuts, I guess, before they come back. And that's going to be on the Peacock Network. You're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to pay at Thanksgiving time for a doubleheader on Peacock or on Amazon. It is slowly but surely going that way because they can see. The other thing they're going to do is they're going to add an 18th game, which means more injuries for the players, but it's more into the owners' pockets. So it'll keep going up, and everything eventually will be all free TV. That is definitely coming because these guys, don't know when to stop. They don't know when they have it so good that now they say, well, let's go get more. Look at the people who are coming in late. Those guys that own Washington, one of them a buddy of Kraft's, they had to go to a big concern to get enough financing to be able to afford the billions to pay for it. Now the league is looking into a situation of where, because they see what all these money men are doing, of saying something like at least 30% of the team has to be owned by an individual or two individuals, because everybody is going to Wall Street.
Well, when does the Fenway Sports Group get into the National Football League?
What'd you say?
When does the Fenway Sports Group get into the National Football League?
He wants to buy a franchise. I've talked to people. He has forgotten about this team here. What he understands, and I don't know. I understand why the fans do it. He's got built-in suckers that will continue to pay to go to that stadium, which I think is still one of the worst stadiums of them all. And he doesn't care. But I'll tell you what he does. What Henry does do. He charges me $50 a month, unlike the New York Times and other papers that are $18 a month, to get nothing but reruns from the goddamn New York Times. That's what he's doing, and that's how he's running the Red Sox, while he builds up all the other things that he's into. Certainly, who doesn't want to buy an NFL franchise? But here's my warning. Don't be that last guy in. Don't be that guy 5 or 10 years from now, long after I'm gone, that says, okay, I'll pay $15 billion for it. And guess what? It ain't going to be worth it eventually. You can't keep doing it, because when you play 18 games, you're on Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday once you get into December. Sooner or later, people are going to say, do I really need all of this extra crap? It comes. We have human nature. When we get too much, what do? We say, I don't need it.
Not to mention the player injuries. That is the last.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
And you're going to change the kickoff rules. If you haven't seen the kickoff rule, you're going to see it tomorrow night.
Have you seen an old Charlie Chaplin movie or Laurel and Hardy? That's what this dumb kickoff is. They're going to get nothing out of it. Absolutely nothing. And most of the statistics showed you from the other night at that dreadful game in Canton, Ohio, that you hardly got the ball any farther advanced than you did if you kicked it into the end zone. But I'm going back to the 60s. And we brought in a sauna. I mean, this was Neanderthal times, for the players to try and recover from their injuries from Sunday, because then it was hand-to-hand combat. It wasn't any of this. And, you could get killed and they never find the body then. So I used to go in the sauna and sit in the sauna with the players, and I'd say, well, tell me, how long does it take you to recover from Sunday's game? Now, remember, this was only 14 games then. And they said, if we're lucky, by Saturday night or next Sunday morning. If we're lucky. Now, that's when you could really get injured. So think about it now. You're asking guys that are twice the size of those players to go out and play Thursday after playing on Sunday? No way.
Right. But
speaking about television and vision, your dad, the late great Bert Bell, commissioner of the National Football League until his passing in 1960, the game that catapulted the NFL into our living rooms was the Colts Giants 58 game.
Yep.
To the best of your recollection, what impact did that have on your dad and his vision for the game on television in the future?
I was sitting right near him, and I knew the way Unitas could operate. I said, this is going to go to sudden death. A lot of people around me didn't even know what the hell I was talking about. He had put the rule in much earlier when he became commissioner, because he said this, that he said, what happens if a game ends up in a tie? How ridiculous are we going to look in saying the teams flip a coin to decide who the winner is? Or in those days when the All-Star game really meant something and the winning team, we're going to say you're going to flip to see who plays in the All-Star game in Chicago the following summer? He said, you can't do it. We have to have this. He only got it pushed through by a couple of votes. And that day, after the game was over, Raymond Berry talked to me about this. In those days, unlike the commissioners today, he knew all the players. He knew the coach. He knew the owners. He didn't give a shit. He could walk and do whatever he wanted to do. He always went into the visiting locker room, the winning locker room, the visiting locker room. He went to the Giants locker room first, and then he went to the Colts locker room. And Raymond Berry said, I was standing outside, and he said, I started to talk to your father, and he said, I saw tears in his eyes. And he said he recognized that this was it, that he lived long enough to see this, his role, his game, his championship, which changed football forever. Millions of sets all over the country fascinated by this ending. And it's ironic because he only lived a few months later. He dropped dead at Franklin Field watching the two teams he owned in the last 2 minutes of the game, which I detail in my book.
Right.
And by the way, if it was here, I'd say you guys have a big party. Have you come? The end of October, the Bert Bell statue will be erected at Franklin Field, not far from where he dropped dead.
Really?
Be a big moment.
Wow.
And also going to my collection, which I put all the interviews that you guys do into the Upton Bell collection, UMass Amherst. In that collection, Concrete Charlie Bednarik's daughter brought the Bert Bell trophy from the Maxwell Club up and visited the collection. It was quite a day, discussing what he was like, about Chuck Bednarik, probably the greatest of his time, two ways. You know, at age 17, he was a tail gunner that flew 25 missions over Germany. And it's a great story. And there are great ones out there for you guys too. But so he knew it. And the other part of the story that I think Bob Lyons tells in his book on the life of Bert Bell, on the way back, my mother, who stayed in Philly, tries to get through to him, get a phone call into the train on the way down. Harry Wismer, who had founded the New York Titans as they played their first year or organized the first year in the American Football League, had decided that he was going to spread a rumor that Bert Bell had a heart attack and died at the game. So he gets off the train in Philadelphia. We get off with him. He gets off the train, and the reporters and TV cameras are everything around him. And they said, "Where's the body?" And they said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, we thought we were bringing Bert Bell's body back because he had dropped dead at the game." That was all of the wild stuff that happened then that you don't get now. These guys would do anything.
Hey, let me get another spot in right here. For our good friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. Hey, you've been thinking about the new car? Go where Lobel and Lynch go. Go see our friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. We've been customers for years because we know that George Gray will treat you right. They're a family-owned and operated dealership, just like the Bells were, and a dealership that we trust and you can trust as well. Go see the big wheel, we call him, the great George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. I saw him last Thursday night. He had his hip replaced, his knee replaced. He's doing great, and he's a big fan of this show, and just want to get the plug in for his business and his sponsorship, and we certainly appreciate it.
There's a Facebook around in a boat. I didn't know Toyotas made boats.
Could he
They make boats.
for my funeral? Could his car carry all the flowers in the back? Something like that. I'd like a parade,
Yeah.
something like that, and have Joanne drive the car, or she's laughing. Yeah,
She'll be fixing the computer. So she'll be fixing the computer.
I'm telling you,
She's a
you
genius.
guys make it very difficult to get through to you.
You know, and you can understand why. I mean, as popular as this show is, it's, you know.
I know it's a big deal. It's like getting to Shangri-La. You know, how the hell do I get up the mountain?
Part of politics, sports, and revenge, but also heroes and villains. I didn't want to launch into another topic because we're just about out of time, but not we can be
I
out.
thought it was a 2-hour show.
You can spend as much time as you want. Heroes and villains. So why are? I mean, based upon what we said today, villains. Who is the villain today? Who's the biggest villain we talked about today?
Well, I would have to say Kraft.
Okay, that would have to say you're right.
I read, but he doesn't want to be.
Was that guy ever a villain?
I can't say it, Lynchy.
Hold on a second. What's you?
Parcells.
Oh, Parcells was never a villain.
When he came back though, the border war, when he coached the Jets, came back in a Sunday night game.
You know something? I told Lobel before we did the show that night. I said, don't be surprised if Belichick or that he is upset that the tuna upsets the Patriots. And they almost did that night.
They almost did.
They almost did. It was. But, you know, it's funny for a guy who wants to be loved by everybody, that Kraft keeps getting himself in the position of making the wrong move. Now, you can say, oh, well, a guy won 6 championships. But you got to remember something else, too. It's probably the cheatingest team in pro football history. Well, along with all of those other things, you can say what you want about it. But again, who knows if the video wasn't destroyed, what will we be saying about Bob Kraft today? I mean, again, you're talking about somebody that wants to get into the Hall of Fame and is trying as hard as hell to get in there.
How many times has he been rejected?
He's been rejected, but he's still trying. But the thing is, Buddy Parker, there's so many great names out there that really translated the game, and they can't get in. And now you're going to push an owner in with this type of situation. The other thing we have to remember too, that I am watching and looking for is how well Brady does on Fox. Is he going to be Tom Brady that offends no one, or is he going to be Tom Brady that really calls it like it should be called? I think it's really going to be interesting because
I think he'll be great. That's my vote. Okay. I mean, I don't know what great means. I think he'll be better than you think he's going to be.
Are you going to watch a Fox game? Let's say it's the Cardinals against the Panthers, a game that you wouldn't watch if they tied you down and made you watch it. But are you now going to watch that game because Tom Brady?
No, I am going to watch it. I am going to watch it. And by the way, he should be good. He should. He doesn't have to worry anymore about the players in the situation. He needs to do just what he would do on the field, which is call a player out if he wasn't running the right route or in practice or whatever else is. He doesn't have to overdo it. But I think he would get instant credibility if he sees a situation and says he should have done this or he should have done that. That's what people want to see.
But don't forget the influence of his play-by-play guy. This guy can make or break Brady. Is it Kevin Burkhardt? That's who it is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he can make or break Brady, and I think he's a professional enough, and I think he's going to want Brady to succeed because if Brady succeeds, he succeeds. They all succeed. Period.
More pressure on Burkhardt than Brady, I think.
I think you're right. I think his job not only is to call the game, but it's to handle the broadcast. He sets the tempo and he weaves them in.
Well, let me put it this way: if I'm the guy that's running the whole thing for Fox, I'm telling Burkhardt, you better goddamn make him look good. I'm sure that's what they tell him.
Right.
Well, he's the guy that they're paying $25 million a year to, or whatever.
37.5.
Which is just ridiculous. But if he does it well, he's going to draw a lot of people. Unlike CBS. Oh my God, what a disaster that is.
He's going to set Brady up like you were set up at Upper Marion High School. Was that your high school? Upton?
Well, Malvern Prep.
Malvern Prep, okay, and then
semi-rich kids.
And LaSalle.
Huh?
LaSalle, right?
Oh well, no. Then I played at LaSalle.
And you're an explorer, yeah.
By the way, I performed at the Palestra and still hold the record for freshmen for 31 points, 15 field goals in a game. Broke Tom Gola's record. You can see it in the record books.
What?
Bragging, guys. That's the facts.
You know what? When I was a senior in high school, I went on a recruiting trip to Penn, and my hosts were two players from Penn. They took me to the Penn Villanova game at the Palestra.
Oh God!
It was terrific. So we saw the game. That was great. Afterwards they took us to Smokey Joe's.
Oh it's my friend.
Okay, so we're at Smokey Joe's, and all of a sudden there's a band playing, music's playing, and all of a sudden like the music stops, and there are three guys with pillowcases and guns. They say, we're going to send the guys around with a pillowcase and the gun, throw everything you have into the pillowcase. He goes, and no one will get hurt. So I'm looking through my wallet. All I have was just like a picture of my high school girlfriend and, like a library card, and said, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. And so the guys came, they got everything. They never got as far back as where we were sitting, and they took off. The next morning, I had to meet with Harry Gamble, who was a coach of Penn at the time.
Yeah, I knew Harry. Yeah.
And the guys who my host said, don't you dare tell him that we took you to Smokey Joe's. He'll kill us. He'll kick us off the team. So he goes, where'd you go? I said, we went to the basketball game. We had a pizza. Oh, what kind of pizza did you get? I'm like Ralph Cramden. I'm going, mama. And but that was my night at the Palestra, Smokey Joe's, back to Penn, and I just wanted to get out of there as fast as I could and get back to Boston.
Smokey Joe's was closed down at least 10 times every year. And I knew the guy that owned it, and it was a legendary place on that campus. Well, my son went to Penn, so I was down there a lot. So anyway.
All right,
what? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you guys talking about something?
Oh, yeah. Well, we'd like to have private conversations. Public,
we gotta find a story about Ohio now.
My bad. I dozed off for a second. My bad.
About Paul Brown or
I just dozed off.
Massillon High School or
Massillon, not Massillon. Massillon.
Okay, Massillon.
You play Bob. Where did you play when you hurt your knee? What was the high school?
It was Waynedale High School in Apple Creek, Ohio. Why?
That's what I mean. Jesus Christ. Zeke from Apple Creek. I can remember how many times the star of Apple Creek, you played in the offensive line, correct?
I was an inside linebacker and an offensive right guard.
And his knees have never been the same.
I haven't.
Right?
No, this is not about me. This show's about the public, but that's all right. It doesn't matter. I don't have.
Ever see one of these, Upton?
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's a kicker shoe. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
friggin' shoe.
Boom.
Why don't you take that shoe
and shove it up my rear end?
I didn't say that.
Greatest kicker I've ever seen besides Adam Vinatieri was Lou the Toe Groza, the Cleveland Brown.
By the way, where was Vinatieri during the Tom Brady night? Why? There's been no mention of Vinatieri throughout this whole much of the Dynasty or anything else. Vinatieri like a figure that disappeared.
Yeah, well, that's what happened here.
Okay, here we became happy campers today. That's the one big addition to the show. We found happy campers.
Why not?
Why not? All right, you did good, Upton. Really, you did good. Right up until the last part where you started talking about Malvern Prep, and
Well, I can tell you plenty of stories.
what, we haven't said the Olympics. We haven't talked about the River Seine and the insane river. But how
Oh
you?
my God, I've had enough of the Olympics already. Although I will tell you this, the best guy I've seen, including Costas, doing is Mike Tirico. He is there. It is. Look at me flying in the air. Do you know I could dunk in high school?
No,
Look at that.
you could not dunk in high school.
Yeah.
How
Right
about
there.
that Bert Bell general manager we had at radio that made us shoot for 24 hours foul shots? No, we shoot at the Prudential Center for 24 straight hours foul shots.
Now, can I leave you with the final story? I know you're overtime.
Oh God, I'm gonna find this picture. The guy. Just go
19,
ahead and talk and I'll look.
1957.
Okay.
I'm playing in the Narberth League, and a guy by the name of George Raveling, who was in his first year at Villanova, was actually an orphan. And we played in that summer league together, became really good friends. He ended up actually scouting, signing people for Lefty Driesell, and then went on to coaching at Iowa and also Southern Cal. He thumbed it down to the Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech, offered to be one of the people to protect King because the cops, they were afraid of the cops. He does that, and afterwards, he's right behind, you see pictures of right behind King, and afterwards, he said, Dr. King, can I have that speech? And King handed him that speech, which he has to this day. Nobody knows where it is. I think it's in a bank account. But that was one of the great moments. And he one of the great guys. He's still alive. Who is that?
He's in the movie.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Sure.
Look at this. Hey, can you send me a copy of this for the collection and sign it?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Bill Cusack, Lobel pretending like he's Larry Bird, and me just the feeder on the side.
Beautiful. I love it.
Can you send it to me?
Of course, I know. Well, I'll take a picture of it.
Take a picture of it and sign it. You see this, Joanne? Come here. Look at this. Your husband.
No prep, but it's pretty close.
Oh my goodness.
There I am.
Yep.
Look at Lobel
Look at that.
and Bill Cusack.
Wow.
And you know what? If he hadn't been screwing around with the secretary, we'd still have a job.
You talking about Cusack or?
No, Cusack.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you. Do you know Lynchy?
Campers. We're happy campers. That's all we need to know.
Lynchy. Cusack was crazy. A great guy. We liked him. He said, I've got this idea. Great promotion. We're going to have you and Lobel shoot baskets, fouls for 24 hours straight. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. He said, no, we're out to break, right, Bob, the world record. So there we were, 24 hours of shooting baskets. I actually went out and practiced for 2 weeks just to be able to have your arm do it. And we finally finished, 8 o'clock that morning? Yeah.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. I'm still tired.
Lynchy, I'm telling you, you wouldn't believe it. And then we had to go do a show that afternoon. No sleep, nothing. My arm was falling off. They brought in masseuses to rub us down. We get a break like every hour for about 15 minutes. Bill and I come in and lie down on these couches, and then the masseuse would come in, and then they just push us right back out again to continue this thing. A crazy thing.
Okay, on Netflix, Untold, the race of the century, period. Check that out. Is it the men's and women's Olympics, men's and women's marathon, the last event at the Olympics?
Yes, it is.
Yes, yeah.
And
It's
the
gonna be
women's,
great. Right through the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe. It's going to be a great route.
now that they've gotten out of golf and all of this other crap that does not belong in the Olympics, golf, tennis, waterboarding, Yeah, I'm telling.
Waterboarding is a torture, or Upton.
That's what I mean. It's torture watching it.
All right, we got to go.
Sailing, I
Untold Race of the Century. Untold, the Race of the Century on Netflix. All right. Happy campers all. Good job. Way to go.
Happy camper. Remember that. Happy camper.
Hey, great to have you on my show. Hope to have you guys on again.
Thank you, welcome. We appreciate it.
Yeah, check is in the mail. See you later.
This
Make
is
sure
it.
you follow us on unanchoredboston.com.
Oh, I know.